Hey guys, it's Tsukiyomi, and today I'm going to be covering what if Sae and Kaiser swapped roles of BlueLock, meaning Kaiser would be like IQ with dual nationality going to Japan, and Sae would have gone to Blasted Munchen instead of Laoyang. Before we get into key factors, I want to give a shout out to Julian, Noel, or whatever he calls himself, as he requested this video and he told me about Onyx channel in the first place. Secondly, Onyx has a YouTube membership because he has 500 subs and is about to hit 1,000, and I'm a member, so trust me, it's good, but I'm broke, so also click the subscribe button. I'm trying to hit 500 so I can renew my membership for the next month. And Onyx once again is pushing 1,000, so help some brothers out real quick. This is being scripted before chapter 260 of the manga on my part, and for Onyx part, it's being scripted before chapter 257 of the manga. So if there are any updates in the story concerning Kaiser or Sae we don't touch upon, we apologize in advance. Peace out. Kaiser factors. Kaiser would be like IQ and choose the Japan U20 team over Germany's U20 team. He will also not be participating in the NEO for the sake of the fact that he is already testing out BlueLock in that match. Sae factors. Sae will play and sign for Blasted Munchen since he could have gone to any European giant club. With his talent and said in chapter 4 that he would rather play with German high schoolers than play on any team in the Japan country and national team itself. Without further ado, welcome to the channel, Onyx!
When it comes to discussing what would happen if Kaiser and Sae swap places in the manga, I feel like there's two important things that need to be made clear. One, the new dominant threat on the U20 team is now a striker and not a midfielder. Two, because Sae is no longer a part of the U20 team, that means that Shido is no longer a part of the U20 team. I feel like the second point is something that a lot of people don't think about when considering this what if scenario. As a reminder, the only reason why Shido was playing for the U20 team was because Sae demanded him to play alongside him, otherwise he would drop out of the match altogether. So now, not only does the U20 team not have Sae or Shido, but Shido is back on the BlueLock 11 roster. But I'll talk about how that changes things later. So, let's talk about the starting lineup. Although Ego still has access to Shido as a player, I feel like the starting lineup for the BlueLock 11 would remain exactly the same. Ego himself stated in chapter 109 that if Shido were to have one of his violent outbursts in the middle of the match, he would most certainly get red carded, putting the BlueLock 11 at a severe disadvantage. Not to mention that throughout all of the BlueLock 11 tryout matches, not even for a single moment did Rin, the heart of the BlueLock 11, have a chemical reaction with Shido. Ego even goes as far as to say that there is not a single person in BlueLock that would be able to handle the egoist Shido Ryusei. However, Ego did mention that if things were going south in the game, that he was saving Shido to be Rin's replacement as a wild joker, a player that could turn the tide of the match single-handedly if the BlueLock 11 found themselves at a pinch. However, we know that this never happened because Shido ended up playing for the U20 team. However, just because the BlueLock 11 had the same starting lineup as before, doesn't mean that the U20 would. Obviously, with the addition of someone as skilled as Kaiser, positions are bound to move around. In chapter 112, we see that the U20 team originally ran a 4-3-3 formation with Sendo at the striker spot. However, now with Kaiser as the more threatening striker, I think we'd see the U20 team formation turn into a 4-2-4 formation with Sendo and Kaiser sharing the striker spot. While I don't think Kaiser would initially like to be lumped in the same position as someone like Sendo, I think he'd come around to the idea once he realizes how he could easily crush Sendo and beat him at his own game, making his name a more recognizable one worldwide. This would help Kaiser in his goal of getting off the Bastard Munchen team and becoming the #1 striker somewhere that doesn't force him to be in Noel Noah's shadow. Other than the new dual striker system, the U20 team would still have Cho and Kozato in the other forward spots, and Wakatsuki and Hayate filling out the midfield. Now that I've clarified the lineup situation, let's move on to what I think the first half of the match would look like. I think the opening goal would still be scored by the U20 team, but instead of Sae scoring the opening goal, it would be Kaiser. After the BlueLock 11 make their initial run and lose the ball, instead of Aiku passing to Sae, he would pass to one of the midfielders. The attack would continue as normal until Kitsune Zato would pass the ball back, this time to Michael Kaiser. While Kaiser would have the perfect opportunity to rip a Kaiser impact and score right out the gate, he would instead pass the ball over to Sendo just like in the canon. Gargamaru would save the shot like usual, the loose ball being retrieved by Michael Kaiser. Before anyone can react, Kaiser hits a sharp angle Kaiser impact, zooming past Gargamaru's face and right into the top right corner of the net, scoring the match's opening goal. Everybody would obviously be crazy stunned and intimidated, more so than after Sae's goal, I believe, due to the sheer power and speed of Kaiser's shot. It's also because of the Kaiser impact speed that I think Gargamaru most likely wouldn't even be able to react to the shot, almost like Barou's first goal against Bastard in the NEL. Similarly to Sae, Kaiser would ridicule his team for not being able to score, especially digging into Sendo for not being able to score in a much easier angle than Kaiser had. Now with the BlueLock 11 in control of the ball again, Rin would once again attempt to recreate the previously scored goal, this time going for a hard angle power shot like Kaiser. This shot would get stopped by Fukaku just like in the cannon, and Nagi would ultimately end up scoring the first goal for the BlueLock 11. This would ultimately lead up to Rin trying to 1v1 Kaiser similarly to what he did in the cannon. While Kaiser's dribbling and ball control isn't nearly as good as Sae's, I still think Kaiser would be able to hold his own in the duel well enough for the next series of events to go similarly, leading up to Rin's shot on goal. Again, Rin would attempt to copy Kaiser's power shot, this time finding success, making the score 2-1. Skipping in time to where there's only 1 minute of additional time left on the clock, Kaiser would retrieve the loose ball from a shot by Cho attempted near the corner of the box. Kaiser would shoot the ball, sending it not only in between Bachira and Isagi, but right around Ryu's reach and Gagamaru's hand, evening the score right before halftime. In the cannon, Sae ended up passing the ball into the box to Sendo, who was cut off by Rin. However, because Kaiser's a striker and not a midfielder, I feel as though he would go for the scoring opportunity being just outside the box at a better angle than his last goal. This would pretty drastically change the rest of the events of the U20 match. Where in the cannon, the BlueLock 11 ended the half on a high note with Ryu's incredible deflection of Sae's shot to end the half, leading the game 2-1. Now the BlueLock 11 will be returning to their locker room, score tied up in the last second, still having yet to stop one of the new Gen 11 strikers' Kaiser impacts. Starting the second half, things continue to differentiate even farther, as this time there's no Shido for the U20 team to sub in at the half. Instead, Kaiser comes in hot and continues to push his way upfield like usual, using the U20 team to assist him in his third goal, hungry for a hat trick. However, Kaiser's plan to be thwarted by Nico, who would foul Kaiser and receive a yellow card. Since Kaiser's playstyle is less sporadic than Shido's, I don't think Nico would suffer an injury here like normal. However, Kaiser would have the opportunity to score from a penalty kick. But even with Kaiser's incredible accuracy, I assume the BlueLock 11 would have a setup that wouldn't allow for Kaiser to get a good shot off from the penalty kick, forcing the U20 team to put the ball in play before going for another scoring opportunity. Eventually, Kaiser would find himself with the ball and an opening, firing another Kaiser impact towards the net. This time, however, the shot would be deflected by Chigiri, who manages to catch up to Kaiser in the nick of time. While the players get ready for the corner kick, Chigiri sits on the ground, holding his leg. Similarly to the cannon, Chigiri would now run out of gas and need to get subbed off for Hiyori. The match would continue as normal, Kaiser once again moving on the offensive. While normally it would be Ryo and Ryu preparing for the assault, it would still be Nico and Ryu because Nico hasn't been subbed off yet. One of the midfielders would send a pass towards Kaiser and Nico would barely intercept it, sending the ball out of bounds. Kaiser would get the ball back after the throw-in, taking another shot on goal. Nico yet again managing to get in his face and put pressure on Kaiser. Because of Nico's influence, Kaiser's shot would be stopped by Gagamaru, the first stop Gagamaru has made on Kaiser so far in this match. Gagamaru would kick the ball upfield back into play, and instead of the ball being intercepted by Sae, the ball is instead intercepted by Sendo. Sendo brings the ball forward on a counter, eventually sending the ball hurling towards Kaiser. Before the ball would get to Kaiser, Gagamaru would head the ball out of his reach. Nico, seeing that Kaiser still has an outlandish opportunity to score, moves in to press Kaiser. However, Kaiser lifts himself up over Nico, similarly to what he did in the Ubers match in Cannon, and rifles the bicycle kick, Kaiser impact, making the score 3-2 in favor of the U20 team. Ego, seeing that the team needs another boost in energy, will then sub off a much too tired Nico, sending in Ryo to be his replacement and to intensely press Kaiser. The match would restart, the BlueLock 11 moving upfield until they eventually lose possession. The U20 team would continue to push forward, sending the ball to Kaiser. However, unlike most other times, Kaiser finds his options incredibly limited, being pressed so hard by Ryo. While Ryo's defense would be tight, Kaiser would find a small pocket to shoot at. Despite Kaiser getting a shot off, Gagamaru, finally getting a hang for the Kaiser impact, would catch the shot and once again send the ball upfield to Nagi, who successfully traps the ball, unlike in the cannon. The BlueLock 11 would push on the counterattack until Isagi finds an opening. Nagi sends the ball up to Isagi and, with no Sae to pressure him and bump him around, Isagi takes the shot on goal and scores, tying the game up 3-even. While Sae was able to pressure Isagi in the cannon, it would make no sense for Kaiser to be that far back on defense as a striker, especially considering how cocky he would be with the 3-2 lead. The only other person that I think would be able to stop Isagi here would be Aiku, but at this point in the cannon, he was too busy handling Rin and would most certainly not be able to interfere with Isagi's shot. Rin, frustrated by being outscored by a striker he's never heard of and watching him score hat trick, frustrated by only being tied, frustrated by the feeling of not being able to catch up to his brother, frustrated by the thought that Isagi might be surpassing him, would now begin to play sloppy. Even though it would be the U20 team's ball to start with, Rin would steal it almost immediately, bringing the ball upfield by himself. While all of the U20 midfielders and defenders would try to steal the ball away from Rin, so would Isagi, attempting to salvage the last bit of opportunity the team has at winning the match. Eventually, Isagi would win the ball from Rin, but wouldn't keep it for long, as Bachira would come blazing in, stealing the ball from Isagi. Bachira would properly cook the whole whole team like in canon before being stopped. Things would play out incredibly similarly to the canon from here on out until Kaiser would get the ball inside of the BlueLock 11's box. Just like in the canon, Kaiser would pass the ball to Aiku and trade to see if he's any better than Sendo. As Aiku's shot goes out of bounds off Rin's leg, everybody gets a moment to regain their breath and composure. However, before play starts again, Rin notices someone standing on the sidelines, Shido, ready to be subbed in. Everybody would be shocked seeing Shido getting used so late in the game. Once Rin is off the pitch, he would angrily ask Ego why he was being subbed off. Ego would then explain that Rin's risky play of going solo could have cost the team the match had it not been for Rin's last second save. But seeing everybody so hungry and fighting all out made Ego feel like there would be no better time to put in the bloodthirsty Shido. After all, the match would only have 5 minutes left at this point, and if not now, then never. A U20 midfielder would send the ball into the box off the corner kick, and the BlueLock 11 would eventually come out with the ball. Yuri and Bachuru would push up the field, trading passes in between the two, and an occasional pass between Karasu and Yukimiya. Eventually, with the ball at his feet, Bachuru would take a shot on goal, just barely missing. The ball would be rebounded by a now livid Kaiser, who would push the ball upfield, breaking past numerous BlueLock 11 players. Eventually, Kaiser would be met by Isagi, halting the Blue Rose Emperor in his tracks. The two would engage in an intense duel. However, only one player could come out on top, Isagi Yuichi. Deflecting the ball away from Kaiser, the ball would take a high arc and find itself landing inside the box. Before anyone could even reach the ball, Shido comes flying in, hitting a bicycle kick right over Fukaku's head, ending the match 4-3. I hope you guys enjoyed my little explanation of what I thought would happen, and now back to Fofo.
Thank you, Onyx, for that great explanation of how Kaiser would work out in the U20 match. Now, we have to take into notice that Sae would still give up his dreams of being the best striker, as I believe it's because of Rin he stopped going for that dream, and would have the canon conversation he had in chapter 124 of the manga, he would also be challenged by Ness, since Ness was originally the best midfielder on the team before Sae pulled up. After the U20 match, Sae Itoshi, watching Isagi be the one to orchestrate the equalizing goal and the game-winning assist to Shido, would decide that he would want to test the potential of the NEL Blue Lockers and would join, since his age won't be a factor since it only affected him getting a pro contract in La Real. And here, I'm pretty sure everyone was compensated for joining this, as BlueLock TV hadn't made that obvious enough. Sae would enter the team on one condition, that Isagi will be starting in every game, as he wants to make the most out of every minute he has on the pitch with him. By the way, I don't see Sae getting any new weapons skills, since in the NEL his coach is Noah, and he isn't really a teacher who helps players, but 99% of the time Sae is self-taught, and I do not believe he would need any help from Noah. Now, before the games, we have to go over formation. It will be 4-4-2 with the random goalkeeper at the back, same defenders. Sae would be the cam instead of Ness. Ness would be the position of Ali, and Isagi would have Kaiser's striker position, and the rest would be the same. Sae would probably rank first in the drills, as just look at how fit he is, bro. So the rankings would be nearly the same, but without Kaiser to scroll for Isagi, I believe Isagi will finish 17th like he did later on, but he will start because of Sae's special terms. First game versus FC Barca. Sae and Isagi would kick off the game with Isagi passing it to Sae and Sae passing it to Grim, trying to see how he connects with his teammates in an actual game. Then it would go similarly to the canon, with Kunigami missing the shot, but with no Kaiser means Ness wouldn't waste time arguing with Kunigami. Out of nowhere, where similar to chapter 115 of the BlueLock canon, Sae would be at the possession of the loose ball before anyone else. Then he would score a massive goal to make it 1-0 in Basel Munchen's favor. Barca would kick off ferociously, trying to get an equalizer. Quickly, they would use tiki-taka to move up the ball quickly up the field. And before the ball could get to Bachua in the tiki-taka chemical reaction B-shot style, Sae would stop it, calling their play style lukewarm, and that he would make it up to the middle of the field and pass it to Isagi, who attempts to score but is stopped by a lucky defender who deflects it for a throw-in. Then Lavino initiates the star change system, bringing in himself and Noah in the game. Grim attempts to throw the ball to Ness, but Otoya intercepts, passing the ball to Lavino, and similar to chapter 164 of the canon manga, where he completely decimates the whole Basel Munchen team thanks to Isagi's small, teensy tiny mistake. This would bring the game level 1-1. Sae would grab Isagi and scold him for not scoring, and it's the job of the striker to score. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that Kunigami is subbed off during the time where Noah is on, like in the canon. Sae would tell Isagi that he needs to evolve his vision if he wants to become a striker worthy of Sae's world-class Classic. Noah and Ness would kick off the counter with the game going the same way as it did in the canon, with Ness assisting Noah's insane goal, making it 2-1 in Bastard Munchen's favor, also running down the star system. But FC Barca are playing like their lives are depending on it now, because Bastard needs to score one more goal so they win the game. So it goes like the canon, where Ness steals the ball from Bachua, saying he caught onto his rhythm, attempting to pass it to Kunigami, cementing his assisting role on the team. But Isagi steals the ball before it reaches Kunigami, but he is too far off from goal, so he goes for a 1-2 with Sae to bring the ball closer to goal. But as Isagi attempts to shoot, Otoya uses his sneaky ninja style to steal the ball from Isagi. Then he blitzes through the whole Bastard Munchen defense and notices Sae about a man mark Bachua like he did last time, so he just scores himself, making it 2 apiece. Sae is furious with Isagi for wasting his efforts and says he will finish the game without him, as he subs himself out for at least, and tells Isagi to get better for him in the next game. The game finishes fairly similarly, but Ness is the one who assists Kunigami and not Isagi this time, making Bastard win 3-2. Kunigami would have the same value as the original with 24 million. Isagi would only have 10 million yen since he didn't get an assist, and Bachio would only have 60 million yen since he didn't score. And Otoya would have a whopping 32 million yen as he did score in this version, and it would show Sae with a whopping 500 million yen. Whoa. Match 2. Bastard Munchen versus Munchen City. Formation would be the same as the original manga, but Isagi is in Kaiser's position and Gessner still has his spot as the right midfielder for now. Sae would start the game on the bench as he would want to see Isagi go on his own first before coming on. The game would go similarly as the canon, just without Isagi and Kaiser bandit fights. Chiguri would show off his shocking new skills and explosive speed, leading him to the 44 degrees formula shot, which would get him the first goal of the match, making it 0-1 in Munchen City's favor. The game would go fairly similarly again, but even without Kaiser stopping Isagi, I believe Chiguri would be man marking Isagi, as Rail was close to them in chapter 174 and Chiguri was in chapter 178. This would lead to Nagi performing the juggling shot that Isagi copied Daddy Yoriichi stole in chapter 257, but made it better cause it had clocks. Heck yeah! Anyways, before the corner starts, Sae subs himself in. The corner happens and Nagi is about to score, but Sae stops it and tells Nagi that he's lukewarm and Isagi to watch his every movement very closely as he engages the Munchen City's team, smoking everyone in his way and threads a pass through the same defenders Kaiser performed Kaiser Impact through in chapter 181. Instead of scoring through though, it is a pass to Kunigami, who scores it viciously, bringing the game level. Isagi goes through the same realization he did in the original manga when Kaiser scored and figures out metavision. The game kicks off at 1-1 and the game goes like the original manga, but better for Isagi as he finally has Sae evolving the Isagi Planet hotline, leading to Sae finally assisting Isagi to make it 2-1. And without Kaiser, there is no stopping Isagi at the moment. Nagi goes to Rail asking him for his help, and together they bring out the 5 revolver volley shot from Nagi, which even Sae couldn't stop for Nagi to score it 2-2. The master subs come on, but Noah steals Gessner's position instead of the CDM position he stole in the original story, and will align himself with the most logical player in the match. The game pretty much goes similarly, but with Isagi having more allies on his team, as Noah would assist either Sae or Isagi, but either way that will still help Isagi at the end of the day. He would be able to score the game winner off of an assist by Sae, as this duo finally starts cooking right before its insane game against Ubers. Isagi would have a whopping 67 million bid as he would have scored 2 goals. Kunigami would have 47 million, the original. Yukimiya would have 10 million for not scoring, and Kurona would have 20 million, slightly lower than his original. Isagi would have finally had the courage to talk to Sae about Rin after the game, but Sae would say that Rin's obsession with him would be his downfall. Isagi would try to pry more, but Sae would tell him to shut up, focus on himself, and not to butt in family business, as Sae states he doesn't want to focus on people who are dead to him. Now, match 3 of NEO, Bastard Munchen versus Uber. In this game, we have a massive problem, being that Raichi wouldn't play, as Ness in Ali's spot and Bastard being ranked on overalls and Ness being way higher than Raichi. That would mean Raichi would play CB over Mensa, as between him and Birkenstock has an 86 overall and Mensa has an 84 overall. And even though Bastard is based on numbers as told by Noah many times. Raichi would take Mensa's spot as he was shown destroying him in training panels of chapter 209 as he destroyed both of them in high defensive 1v1 win rates. According to Noah, Raichi was really doing good, so he would be asserted into this war. Now besides that, we will have the same 4-4-2 that we had in the last game, but with Sae and Raichi starting, as Sae would finally be ready to play with Isagi for the full game. This game would be very different since Lorenzo would be man marking Sae instead of Kaiser, but Sae is a midfielder, which means he can use his no pass interval to get quick passes to others, as he would get a quick pass to Isagi, who would slip past other defenders to score like in chapter 212 to make the game 1-0. Ooh, Isagi and Sae is already cooking. In chapter 215, Barou scored the equalizing goal thanks to Nico whopping Isagi and Ubers getting to work to help Barou use his goal hunter to score. But in this version, I think Sae would see it coming, as before Barou terminated his contract, he kind of became predictable as he wasn't that Joker card he was before Ubers, and so I believe Sae would rip him off and pass it away before Lorenzo could come reach him again. The game would go similarly to the canon except for chapter 218 to 19 where Kunigami steals the ball from Ness, but still since they are working together, Ness would just dribble through the defenders himself until passing it to Kunigami, who would get stopped by Ayu. He would then deflect it to landing to Isagi but would shoot, but IQ would stop it like he did against Nagi in the original story. With Raichi and Sae would get it and instantly pass it to Corona, but Nico intercepts it and passes it to Sendo, who then starts trading passes with Barou and Nico, making a triangle, moving up the pitch, and with Sae and Isagi too far behind Ubers, giving the defenders no time to think, Barou would be able to complete the goal hunter, this time making it 1-1. Sae instructs Isagi to watch his movements and react with the best possible way to make his direct shot go in for goal. Sae begins his epic 1v1 with Lorenzo, making a massive aura where no one could interfere. Every dribbling is used by Sae in his arsenal, trying to shake off Lorenzo, but he keeps coming back. Nutmegs, elastical, Rabonas, he keeps coming back like the zombie he is, but the plan is for Sae to just bring the ball to the box so that he could make his own version of Goal Hunter by making a huge confusion with everyone in there. By drawing everyone's attention to his elegant style, IQ comes in to help press with Lorenzo, calling him Mr. Too Good to Play for Japan, and Sae realizes Isagi is finally open, but Lorenzo snatches it at the last second, saying he knew he was aiming for Isagi, so he used IQ as a little bit of bait. So he passes it to Nico, but the shark intercepts and scores a vicious, unexpected goal, that man being Raichi Jingo. Everyone is shocked that Raichi was the piece that broke through the chaos to score that goal. Corona would fall down with a cramp, but Sendo wouldn't have one, as he wouldn't have attempted to stop Raichi the same way he did to Kaiser, which was very vicious because Kaiser's playstyle was like that. Raichi hit an insane rocket shot, sexy style. So Kiora would sub in for Corona since Isagi wouldn't have had to fight for Hiyori coming onto the pitch, because let's be honest, the only reason he was because Sae was in there and Hiyori's basically safe. But because the plot demands it, Hiyori will come on. And Hiyori, since he still has the same set of eyes as Isagi would want to just finish this match perfectly in his version. So Hiyori would instead be the right wing position, replacing Gessner. Good riddance, he didn't do anything for this team. Barou would terminate his contract with Snuffy and score an insane goal between Sae and Isagi's leg. By the way, there's no star change system in this match, as Snuffy only came on because of Sendo, and Noah doesn't like playing, as he says, don't make my job harder than it needs to be. So the game would end very quickly after that, as Hiyori, Sae, and Isagi is just an insane trio to be messed with, and Sae would just get this for him to score a super goal similar to how Hiyori and him did it in the original manga. The match would end Bastard free Ubers 2. Now that Bastard Munchen is on break, let's recap the other games. Match 2 would have been against PXG and Ubers, which would have ended in a 3-2 deficit like the original, but Rin and Shido would both get red cards, as I've searched it up and it is possible for you to get red cards while fighting against your own teammates, or banned at least from another game. And if you watched the Onyx part of the video closely, he explained that Rin would get furious by being subbed off in the U20 game, that that would lead to a feud between him and Shido, even evolving further than it already was in their original timeline, boiling over to the NEL, leading them to both missing out on the Munchen match. Ubers would crush Barou at this point, and PXG would barely beat Munchen with 3 goals to 2, with Karasu scoring 2 goals and Tokimitsu scoring 1 goal himself. With Nagi's mental crisis and Charles being too OP, I could still see PXG winning this match, but I don't see Karasu doing well if they lose, as Karasu would still score 1, Tokimitsu would score 1, and Chigi would score a hat-trick. That is if Munchen would have pulled through with that mental crisis of Nagi and RAITO. Now PXG versus Barou would go the same, and I'm pretty sure Sae would be watching, as in chapter 107 it's shown Sae looked into the U20's team before calling the whole team trash, at least just the strikers. PXG would crush FC Barou like in the original story 3-2, and Ubers would do the same to Munchen City 1-3. Isagi at the stage would be number 1 with 180 million yen. Since Rin missed the match, Rin would be massively low with 54 million yen for missing a whole game, and his goal against Barou would only be worth 18 million, as he had 180 million in the original and ended up with 198 in the original. He wouldn't really care because his main goal is to crush Isagi, and Shido would be at 95 million yen. Final game, PXG versus Bastard Merchant. The formation would be the same as the last game, except Kyoto would be starting instead of Corona. This game would go really fast paced, as Sae would immediately start dribbling through the whole team and being stopped by Rin, who challenges him to a 1v1 like he did in the original timeline, but then he would immediately pass to Isagi to get the first goal of the game instantly. Without Ness and Kaiser, screwing up the game is actually going to be way easier for them to actually get goals in. But then Charles would get his insane super assist to Shido, who would score a dragon header to score an immediate equalizer, as Isagi would still think the ball was going to go to Rin, and Sae isn't physically able to keep up with that high Shido header. Then Noel would sub on Corona for Grim as the new left wing, and then Kunigami would start putting clamps on Shido, as he would be the new CDM. Then I would see Isagi scoring again with his weapons to regain the 2-1 lead. Then Rin would explode, terrorizing everyone in his berserker state, but Sae and Isagi would stop him. Then Loki would sub on after the ball goes out of bounds for a corner, as Charles is complaining that Shido is locked down, so he's bored. Noah wouldn't sub on, as Loki is their agent. He would just say, figure it out yourself. He would have Igagui sub on for Birkenstock, because why the hell not, and have Neuro sub on for the other CB, being Raichi, but Raichi would actually be moved up to CDM, Ness's position, and take Ness off. So literally, basically, Kaiser's whole X team is all benched right now, and Sae can do everything better than Ness, so there's no need for Ness, and Raichi's more dependable at this situation, because we're going to need a defensive team to stop Loki. So with this ultra defensive lineup, they still wouldn't be able to stop Loki and Charles, as this duo would be insane, and Loki would be able to god spin his way to a 2-2 all equalizing game. But they would survive the last minute of that star change, and Isagi would figure out a way to score with an assist from Sae, so that would make PXG lose their first game and Bastard Merchant win every single game. So this version, Kaiser does pretty well against the BlueLock 11, and Sae and Isagi would conquer the NEL, decimating every team in their way. Once again, thanks Onyx for helping with this collab on this insane video. It was a pleasure working with you, and I'm excited to work with you on your channel soon. Wink wink. I hope you all liked this video, and if you did, feel free to give a like, subscribe, hit the nonnies, or do none of them. Peace out. It's your choice.